Welcome to a new video in my SAP GUI scripting series, and with this video I want to give some relevant content for the guys who are in here for looking for SAP content, which is few and far in between. I don't think I've done these scripting related videos probably for 2 years now. And in my videos, usually I get like comments like, yo, can you do the same for this transaction or that transaction? And I usually I don't do these because once you create a certain process for a particular transaction, doing it for another transaction is not really, difficult or challenging for me to do. I can probably understand that the one who are asking for this probably can't, program in Excel. So for them, it's a big challenge, but yeah, it's not something that I'm interested in. But sometimes I do get some questions that are actually interesting. Like one of these questions was how I can create a document using GUI scripting, which is going to create screenshots. So this is what I'm going to talk about here. So what we have here is I've taken the some PO documents. So we are going to create PO documentation on POs. So let's say you have some process which creates PO documents, and you have to document that the PO got created correctly. So you have to create a document with a lot of screenshots. So let's say you are working as a functional consultant, and you have some test documentation that you need to do. And with this you can automate it. So I've created an Excel document which is going to, you can list the PO documents that you need to document. And then you can specify like file names, which I've just used some formula how to do that. And what this program or what the script is going to do is going to open this template document which you prepare. So let's say this is the PO documentation example, and this is the screen for the main PO document. So you create these templates with these keywords in it. And what the script is going to do is it's going to replace these keywords with screenshots or with actual data from the SAP document. So you can see one example here. So this is if I scroll to the top, so PO documentation example. And as you can see, the hash screen 1 hash got replaced by a screenshot. And then the hash screen 2 hash also got replaced by a screenshot. And the third one is also a screenshot. And then there was finally one more screenshot. I have to look at another document. I think it's, probably this one on the top. This was the one that I created for the last time. So again, screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. And right at the end, I wanted to include an actual value from the document. So let's say the order value is 364.56. I think it's euro, and it was probably this document. So this is the field that I copied over. So this whole process is great for creating documentation, and I think you would probably find many different uses for that. And if I just want to show you how it works, if I go back to my document, so I have my POs in here, just like with many of my other documents or other examples, I have a status. So you can just mark which lines you want the script to process by setting the status to 0, which says pending, and then you execute the script, and then you just wait. This takes a little bit more time because okay, this is because I have left this document open, so it cannot override this one. Okay, so I zeroed out the statuses again, and let me start the script. And now what is going to happen in the background is the Excel is opening the Word document, and now it's going to go through the screen sequence for the first PO. Then it saves the Word document, opens the Word document again, and it's going to do it for every single PO. And it takes the screenshot of the active application. So the whole thing is that you need to remember is that you don't use this screen while the script is running, because if you switch to the Excel, then it's going to take screenshots of your Excel document. And I've done something in the code by which is like minimizing and maximizing the SAP screen, and that was the only way for me to bring it to the foreground and to the full screen in order to take a screenshot which is only showing SAP. But it is working now, and as you can see, it slowly goes through each of the documents that I have in the list. And then once we have all of them, I think 6, then we will get a message that the process has been completed, and we can view the documents that got created. And by the way, I know that there is an issue with one of the documents, because probably this PO doesn't have one of the screens, or I don't know, maybe I haven't done the goods receipt, so it doesn't have some data, so the script cannot go to a certain screen. But other than that, everything works fine. Well, the rest of the document works fine. So if I look at, let's say, the last one or the first one, now I can see that well, the screenshot has been taken, and then next screenshot as well, and the third one. And yeah, I'm going through the headers, and I managed to copy the order value out to the document. In case this is your first video on the SAP scripting, I just want to talk about some basics on scripting. So the one thing you have to know is that scripting might not be enabled on all the systems. So if you come to this part of the screen and you hover over with the mouse, it says SAP GUI Scripting, script is not running. But because you have this very faint icon, you know that the scripting is enabled. And by default, when you start scripting, then the system is going to give you pop-ups, or the SAP is give you pop-ups that somebody is trying to attach to your session using scripting. You can disable these by unchecking these two checkboxes here. Other than that, what you also need is you need a transaction RZ11, and this is the transaction where you can enable scripting or disable scripting. So there are two system parameters. Well, one is the SAP GUI Scripting, and the other one was the SAP script recording. This one. I mean, this is what usually gets set by the system administrator. So if I look at this one, then I can see that the current value is true. So scripting is enabled in this system. I mean, I can change the value here to true, switch it on all servers and save. And then if I exit and go back, I can change this value. Of course, you might not have access to this transaction, so just bear in mind. So this is what switches the scripting on and off. And of course, you are going to access the scripting from here, which I'm going to do in a couple of minutes. And if the script recording is disabled, then your record button would be disabled. And I mean, what I noticed with various clients is usually scripting is script recording is enabled, let's say, in the development system, so you can do the recording in the development. But then once you finalize your script and the Excel file, then you can you just run it in any other system. So let's say in production, scripting is not enabled, script recording is not enabled, but scripting is probably enabled. So you can run your script, but just not record in production, which I don't think it's a big deal. So this is the SAP part of it. And in Excel, what we need is, if I go Alt F11, which brings up the editor, I also need to set my preferences, and I need this one to be enabled for within Excel in order to get the SAP GUI scripting working. So this is the SAP GUI scripting API, and it is this SAP fewse.ocx, and that's usually in your SAP GUI folder. And I mean, you just have to have SAP logon or SAP GUI installed in order for this work, and SAP installs this OCX. If you don't see this SAP GUI scripting API here, you can just use the browse button and you can browse this OCX file. I don't know if this is available for download separately anywhere. As I said, if you install GUI script, the SAP GUI SAP logon, it should include this OCX file. And this is pretty much all we need in order to get scripting enabled and get scripting running. Okay, first of all, I think I'm going to talk about this specific example that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm going to show you how you can, do a recording, or how you can modify this code from the beginning to end. So everything here is, well, obviously it's a Visual Basic code within your Excel document, and you need to have some Visual Basics or some programming skills in order to understand this. So to bring up the Visual Basic editor, you need Alt F11. to bring this up, and I've put everything here into this module. And I'm not going to go through all the functions here because they are pretty much same as I've used in all my other SAP videos or SAP GUI scripting videos. By the way, you can see here that you define your client and your system ID and the client here. So for example, you can see that I'm working in system D01 and the client is 220. So here I just say D01220 in one word. And of course you need a template file which you can create, and you specify the name here and you specify the folder as well. So the template file is obviously in this folder, and then the new files are also going to get created in this folder. And just remember to leave a backslash at the end of the folder. And I think that's pretty much it what we need to get started. So going back to the Visual Basic Code, when you click this button here, the start script, it's going to start this method here, which is called the start processing. And it does a lot of things which you don't really have to understand a lot. I mean, here I'm getting the folder and the template value that is stored here. So obviously this references to these specific E6 and the E7 cells. So if you want to change this document, the header, yeah, just try to keep it here. Otherwise you need to modify these two lines here to get it from a different place from the document. Or if you want to default it, you can just specify it as a fixed value here. The next is going to try to attach to a session. So it's going to go through all your SAP sessions, and it's going to connect to the session that you have specified here, and it's going to connect to the first session that has the same system and the client logged into it. And next it's going to check how many documents you want to process. So it's just going to look at the document or the PO numbers in this case, and just look from line 11 and then all the way until it finds an empty line. So for me, it's going to look for line 11 to 16. That's why it knows that it needs to process 6 POs. And then for every single PO, it's going to call a method which is called process row. And so process row is responsible for processing basically one PO. And of course, it's only going to call the ones which has the status 0. So again, if let's say something errors out, so you run the process and one of the POs error out, and maybe that PO has some issues, you manually fix it, you change it back to 0, you run the script again, it's only going to run the ones that are in status 0. So it just makes processing a little bit easier. Going back to this process row, what we do is, okay, so we do some housekeeping, we get the PO number and we get the name, which is going to be the file name. So you see that it has to be like, proper file name .docx. And first of all, what it tries to do is it tries to open the document. So this open document, it just basically creates the Word document. It opens the document using the folder name and the template that you have specified up here. And then if it cannot find it, then it's going to give you an error. And then it's also going to save it immediately with the new file name that is specified in column B. Going a little bit further, then what it's going to do is it's going to execute the script that we are going to record in just in a few minutes. So I'm not going to go into details what this script does, but basically you create the script by going through the screens that you want to take a screenshot of. And every time you want to create a screenshot, you insert these, how many? 2, 4, 6 lines into the code in between your SAP script code. So what this basically is going to do is it's going to call this method, which it says take screenshot, and you are going to pass the tag that you left in your Word document as the tag that needs to be replaced with the screenshot. So if I go back to my template document, like #screen1, #screen2. So obviously the GUI execution is going to stop with the last command that you have done here, like let's say move to a screen. It's going to take a screenshot, find the tag, find the tag in the document and basically just press Ctrl V, which replaces this text with the screenshot which is in the clipboard. And then it's going to carry on in the SAP, move to a next screen, and then you have the next 6 lines, which is going to be, replacing hash screen to hash with the current screenshot, and it goes on. And these few lines are already required here because if the screenshot fails for any reason, then you will get a message here in your Excel document that failed to replace a tag with a screenshot. So you know why the document has failed or the processing has failed. And finally, there is a different section right at the end, which instead of the take screenshot, it says replace text. So again, the slash data, and it replaces with this variable, which is called the field value, and you specify the field value here, which is again pointing to a field on the SAP screen, and it's just going to get the data from there and replace it with what you have in the Word document here. Hash data hash tag. So that's what the code does. And once it does this row processing, and if everything was successful or even if everything failed, it just calls this close document, which saves the Word document that got created, and the process just continues with the next line. The process continues with the next line, and then by the end, as we have seen, all your test documents are going to get created as a separate Word document. Now let's see how we can record this. So let me copy this number as an example, this order number. So we are going to create a new recording. So I select option and what was it? Script recording and playback. Yep. And I specify the file name. I've done some testing, so I'm just going to call it me23n5.txt, and I'm just going to press recording. So the first thing is we need to launch the transaction that we are going to use. I'm going to use me23n for the POs. Of course, if you want sales order documents, then it's, what is it, VD03? No, XD03. I'm getting a little bit rusty on my ECC transaction codes. And of course, please use /n every time, because unless you leave the script on the main screen, you won't be able to, launch the transaction. So we launch the transaction and it loads the last PO. So I just want to change to the PO number that we want. So I just pasted in a PO number, open document. So it didn't really do anything because I had the same document open. But okay, let's say this is the first screenshot that's the first screenshot that we want to take, where all the header data, all the items, and then let's say the delivery address on the first item is visible. And I don't want to take any data from the items for the time being, because obviously you don't know how many items you have, so that's going to complicate the code. I just want to go through an easier example. So I just want to go to screens which is going to be visible on every single PO. I mean, if you have only one line item, you can just go to the line items. So this is the first screenshot. The next screenshot I think I'm going to take once I go to header and then this invoice tab. So that's going to be my second screenshot. And basically I just need to remember how many clicks I've made on the screen. And I also want to take a screenshot on the additional data, because maybe I want to see the VAT number. And then finally, I also want to take a screenshot of the status field. And I want to take this number, which is the order number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this field, because even if you click on that field, the script recording is going to record that within the recording. And actually, this is all I need to take my screenshot. So I'm going to press stop now, and I can close this as well. And my new script file has been created. So if I edit it, you can see it in the Word document. Okay, so that's fine. And now we need to import this into our Excel document. So I'm just going to switch back to my Visual Basic Editor. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. And I mean, I know I have this script, which I mean, I've just done pretty much the same what I've done before, but I'm just going to replace it so you can see how that looks like. So I'm not interested in all these parts. I only need the one which usually start with a session maximize. And I'm just going to copy the whole thing and then paste it in here. And just like with the previous examples, because I used a different variable name for session, I just need to replace all these sessions with the object session. So I don't have so many lines, so I'm just going to do it manually. And the one thing that you have to be aware of is always keep this line here. So this is not included in the recording, but just leave it in here, because what it does, it's going to, as you can see, it says iconify. So that's going to minimize the SAP GUI screen, and then it's going to maximize. So this was my sort of like dirty workaround to get the SAP GUI screen as to the foreground every time when it starts a script. So just to make sure that I'm taking a screenshot of SAP and not Excel or anything else on the screen. Okay, so maximize the screen. We look at, or we launch the transaction /NME23N. We press enter, and this must be the button where we press, to open a new document, and then we paste in or we specify the PO number, and I need to replace that because obviously my PO number is here. I'm getting it from the current row and column 1, and this is stored in the variable PO number. So I'm replacing that with PO number. And I press, that's the button which I think it says open document or something like that. So when I get to this screen, that's where I have my main PO screen. So I'm going to take this example from here, because that's where we want to take the first screenshot. So again, the tag is #screen1#, and well, that's when I want to do the thing. So next, what I did is I clicked on this button here, which I can close this. I don't need it. I click in this button here, which maximizes the header details, and I clicked on, I think it was the delivery of the invoice. So after the next 2 clicks, I want to take another screenshot. So again, I copy these 6 lines here, and all I need to do is I need to update the tag. Fine. Next, I have moved to the additional data tab, and I'm going to take the next screenshot. I mean, I don't know whether this is the additional data tag, data tab, but I just remember that, these are the clicks that I have done on the screen. So this is, as you can see, tab DT1. So maybe this is the, DT1 is the first tab, which is delivery invoice. Additional data, it says DT7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. And then that would be 8, 9, 10. Yeah, which is here. So, by looking at the code, you can pretty much tell what the script was recording, even if you didn't remember the exact steps. So next, I want to take a screenshot after I move to the status tab. So that would be screen 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will be the 4th screenshot. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And after that, I want to also capture the order value. So as you can see, I clicked on the order value field. So it's something like value 01. And when you click on it, you always get 2 lines. You get this set focus and you get this caret position. So we don't need we don't need both of them. And actually, what we need is we don't want the set focus, but we want to get a value. And the way I did it is I created a variable which says field value equals. So I just copy this here, field value equals, and this might not work, 100% of the fields in SAP, but probably like 90% of the fields or the screen elements. What I found that pretty much all of the SAP screen elements have a special method which is called displayed text. So I'm just going to replace the set focus with displayed text. So that's going to give me the value, how it is displayed on the screen. So it's not going to give me, 1500, it's going to give me exactly like this. So 1.500,00. So based on, how you see it on the screen. So we put it into, we put it into a variable, which is called a field value. And then I just copy this example here, which says replace text hash data hash with a field value. And I can delete all my earlier examples. And once I finished with the script, all I need is this line, which is going to set done here. This, just so everything worked, then it sets done, and then it says status 2, which is the completed. So this is how we know that everything has worked. But I've done with my changes. So I've just used my earlier example. First I changed the session to object session, and I just added this, group of 6 lines and added the tags that I want to replace in my template document. And that should be it. So I'm going to save the changes, go out back to Excel. I mean, you're not going to see an awful lot because I've recorded the same that I had before. But if I just start the script now, I don't have any of the Word documents open. So I can just start the script and we can see this working again, just like it did before. So now you can see it's opening the Word documents, going into the header, going through all the tabs, or the 3 tabs on the top, and now it waits a little until it does the, the next Word document, and it goes through the same again. And then between POs, you see this short moment when the SAP screen disappears and comes back again. So that's the 2 statements where it says iconify and maximize. As you can see, it's not it's not a really quick process. But hey ho, you don't have to do anything. You can have hundreds of these documents here. Well, not hundreds, but maybe you can have a couple of dozen documents here. You start the Excel script, you go for a coffee, and by the time you come back, you have a bunch of documents that you can just attach as test evidence. Of course, after checking that everything is fine, but at least you don't have to go through the whole cut and paste exercise, which could be quite a chore, especially if you have a lot of test cases to go through. Okay, this is probably the last document. No, that's the last one. Let me remember what the value is. So it's 1500. Okay. Script completed. And if I go to my last document, hopefully we can see. I mean, I can go into the screenshots as well, but yeah, that's the order value. And the one before, I think that was 6,000. So yeah, 6,000, all looking good. Actually, let me show you the one that failed. So it's the 1882. So I was able to open the first screen, and then for some reason I wasn't able to expand the header details. Maybe the header was already expanded, and by clicking here I collapsed it, so I was no longer able to click on the tabs. I mean, I think this is a specialty about this transaction. If you're using the other transactions or completely different process, you wouldn't have any issues with that. And of course, the script doesn't have to be as simple as that. I mean, like having one single transaction, you can have a very complicated script which goes through a sales order, and then it navigates into the delivery document and I don't know, the invoice as well, and takes screenshots of each of these documents. Maybe you can just start from a sales order and then use document flow to go to all the other documents, or you can modify the script as well. So you have, sales order number, delivery document, and a PO number as well. So it's just going to go through each of these documents. And of course, for that, you have to modify the file and get the extra values and just take care of the fact that you are moving fields around. So there is a lot of code here which references to, for example, here you can see that the updates like the statuses, like something is done, it's all referenced to column 5, which is column E. And then all the number updates are column 3, which is column C. So this is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how it's used in the Visual Basic Code. So as I said, you have to be aware when you are recording the script that you navigate through these various screens that is going to work for, for every single document that you might want to test. And I think probably some transactions are going to be easier than this PO transaction, because I don't know if you work with PO, but let's say if you have a PO line item which doesn't have goods receipts, then some tabs are not visible here. So again, if you are recording, you want to go to the I think account history, something like that. So, and if you have a line item which doesn't have GRs, then the account history is not going to show, so your script is going to fail, which actually fails in one of my documents. And if anything fails the way the script is written, because it has this on error go to statement here, then if anything fails here, it just goes to the end, it saves the Word document, and it just moves on to the next one. So the ones that failed might only get partially replaced. Probably one more thing to consider, especially when you are testing it. Of course, you can, put a breakpoint in here and just go through the code if it's not working. So for example, you put a breakpoint and then you, let me just do it with one, you let it go. Now the screenshots are not going to work because, if you are using breakpoints, so if you're using the debugger, then this is your foreground application, so the screenshot is going to include the Visual Basic Editor instead of the SAP screen, but at least you can see what's going on. So for example, I was not able to replace something here. Oh, sorry, this was the document which actually failed. So we know that I wasn't able to, the SAP wasn't able to press this button. This is why it stopped here. Or no, I think it wasn't able to press this button. Anyway, so you can go through this here. The reason I wanted to mention this, because if you stop your debugger, then the system still has the Word document open in the background. I mean, now you can see it here as well. But sometimes what I noticed is that the Word is still running in the background. So for example, in this case, so if you're trying to test again, then it's not going to work because one instance of the Vim Word is still running. So you just come to the task manager details, and then you have to, end process, end task, the Vim Word. And what I also noticed that somehow the access key still keeps an instance of this reference in the memory or something like that. So if something falls over and then you stop the program and you had to kill the WinWord exam, most probably, in most cases, I also had to close the Excel document and then just reopen it again, because otherwise it's not going to work. But I don't think you can do anything about it. It's just, if it doesn't seem to be working whilst everything is, it should be working, check your processes. If a WinWord is stuck, kill it, and then just close the Excel document and then restart it again, and then it should be working just fine. So this is just a small thing about that. But I think that would be all about this particular exercise or this particular SAP script. I think it's quite a nice one. This is the first time when I combined two APIs or objects, because now with this particular example from the Excel document, I'm not only just controlling SAP GUI, but I'm also controlling a Word document and making changes to it. So that was quite a nice challenge for me to do. I hope you like it. Just like in all the other cases, the example to this Excel document and the template and everything is going to be in the video description. There's going to be a Google Drive link that you can download, and you can just create your own recording based on whatever I explained in this video. I hope you find this useful, but that will be all for today. Thanks for watching and hopefully see you in the next video.